2021 would be much better, they said. Everything that made 2020 so bad, when the clock struck midnight on January the 1st, it would all go away, and 2021 would be lovely. That's what they said, but it didn't bloody happen, did it? Thank goodness that the professional wrestling was there to hug us, like that massive big blue thing off of Monsters, Inc. Anyway, while 2021 saw the demise of the weekly WTF Moments videos because I personally was too rubbish and too weird to sustain an audience, thankfully, the professional wrestling for WWE inside the ring was also equally as rubbish and is equally as weird, so hoorah! So without any further ado, it is time for another Christmas compilation, because what would Christmas be without some bollocks compilations? We spoil you here at Cultaholic Wrestling, don't we? As we take a look at the 10 biggest WTF moments from WWE in the year that was 2021. But before we get going, if you've seen Elias, please call the number on screen. We last saw him a little while ago, hanging around some graveyards, and now he hasn't been heard from, and we're severely worried about his well-being. The February the 8th, 2021 episode of Monday Night Raw saw us get more than we bargained for, yeah, as we got to know Nia Jax Hole. No, this wasn't some sort of brand new hip-hop and happening talk show segment down a rabbit's burrow. This was Nia Jax's bumhole, Nia Jax's arsehole, Nia Jax's big stinky hole, her big smelly hole, Nia Jax's hole. Did you hear about her hole? Her bum hole. You see, Nia Jax was taking on Lana on Monday Night Raw in a tables match. She went for a leg drop on the apron. Lana, that clever devil, she rolled out the way, and Nia Jax landed hole first, I should say, on the apron, and she did this. I've got the full transcript right here. Oh! Ah! Oh! Oh, my butt! Oh! My hole! And if that wasn't enough, on a subsequent episode of SmackDown, the tag team tandem of Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks, they pulled the proverbial rug from under Nia's hole, and the hole took another battering once again. Forget about a hole in one, we saw a hole in two for Nia Jax's big smelly hole. And then, to top it all off in terms of WTF moments surrounding Nia Jax's hole, WWE took the YouTube clip of this fantastic, earth-shattering, historic, monumental moment, and they bleeped the moment where Nia Jax screamed, "My hole!" What a slap in the hole that is. But at least she got that nice offer there from Tushy. I'm sure that would have cushioned the blow to her hole. Nia's hole, her arse hole. Soyons campion, Booker T. Now, when Bad Bunny rocked up into our professional wrestling lives, I'm sure I wasn't alone, dear viewer, when I was saying, oh my god, it's another celebrity. This is going to be absolutely painful. Just as painful, right, as having a big rabbit. You know, the big ones that are the size of a horse. They exist, right? They exist, believe me, they really do. Having one of those bad lads bite down on your hand, which would really hurt because their teeth are massive. But Bad Bunny took that disdain from naysayers like me, and he says, I cannot be having that. I'm gonna die alone, I am. Let's just be really good at the wrestling. Soyons campion, Booker T. Better than him. He's not better than him, but he was really good. Yes, Bad Bunny was absolutely sensational on night one of WrestleMania 37. So let's take our sorry arses back to that particular WTF Moments video to see what I was saying about Bad Bunny doing the wrestling. And one WTF moment in particular. And here's a WTF moment for you. Bad Bunny is a better professional wrestler than some professional wrestlers WWE hire today. Jackson Riker. Oh, sorry, bad cough there. And if that's not a WTF moment, I don't know what is. But I tell you what, between Bad Bunny and Pat McAfee and people like that, we have a new standard for celebrity matches in WWE. Be less like Tyson Fury, be more like Bad Bunny. But then again, Bad Bunny, Canadian Destroyer, 4 words that should not belong in the same sentence, unless that sentence is, Bad Bunny cannot hit a Canadian Destroyer, can he? But he did last night at WrestleMania. I tell you what, it was hair-raising stuff. Because rabbits. And after all of that, I've got to take these rabbit puns and put them in the bin. They're just not bunny anymore. As we all know, Survivor Series is one of WWE's fabled Big Four pay-per-views, but this year it was extra special because this year's marked the 25th anniversary of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. He's sort of a fella who looks a bit like this with his big bald head. Anyway, I forgot where I was there. It marked the 25th anniversary of The Rock's debut at Survivor Series way back in day. The build-up to the event, while we did have the brand supremacy bollocks that nobody cares about at its core, was also centered around Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. We had Roman Reigns appearing on Jimmy Fallon, that famous French television show host. Why am I dancing now? I've got no idea. But Roman Reigns was saying, "Oh, The Rock's so great, I would love to fight him one day." The entire build was almost all just exclusively about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. And then we got to the show and we had a Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson Battle Royal. Who doesn't love one of those? But the WTF moment, or WTF moments of the top tier when it comes from Survivor Series 2021, surrounds that big gold bastard egg. That big gold bastard egg that should never have left the big gold bastard hen's arse. Put it back up there, let's never see it again. And the worst thing was, in the dirty sheets after Survivor Series 2021, it was reported by several dirty sheet writers that WWE originally wanted to put this big stupid golden egg in the 24/7 division, probably where it belonged. But the people from The Rock's movie said, nah, we're paying you the big bucks, giving you the poontang pie, Hollywood Rock, yeehaw, all that kind of stuff. Let's make it the centerpiece of one of the big four of WWE's calendar. I'm not forgetting about you, Money in the Bank, but historically speaking, there was four. Now, I've never wished for an egg to die before, but this one, I wish it was never born. So let's hear about what I was saying at Survivor Series 2021 about this stupid, big, golden egg. And then, after not being seen for what feels like 50,000 years, a 50,000-year-old Vince McMahon arrived to a WWE pay-per-view with a golden bastard egg. Out of nowhere, no context, old man Vince McMahon, massive golden egg. I tell you, it completely catches you off guard, and no, there will be no egg puns during the course of this video. They're all on Twitter, and they're all bloody terrible. So to set the scene for you, Vince McMahon gets out of his limo. Vince McMahon gets the Linda McMahon pop from the massive group of massive nerds waiting for him. Vince McMahon gets back into his limo. Vince McMahon brings out a massive golden egg. He presents the golden egg to the massive group of massive nerds, and the massive nerds, they do nothing. Vince McMahon says, "Shout, damn it, shout," doing that with his hands, you see. And then the nerds, they pop for the massive golden egg. Vince McMahon fires their pals. They do nout. Vince McMahon brings a golden egg. Woo! Vince McMahon, you group of nerds should be damn ashamed of yourselves, okay? Honestly, it's like watching Willy Bastard Wonka, never mind WWE, and we have no context about this until Stinky Pete on the kickoff panel goes, "Hey ho, that's that massive golden egg from that Netflix thing. Yeah, it all makes sense, doesn't it? Yes." Honestly, right, the way that Vince McMahon looks so proud with that massive golden egg in his hand, I was thinking to myself, has Vince McMahon had one of his massive grape fruits detached from his being, preserved in gold, so future generations could feel the power of the grapefruits? And the best thing was, at certain points of that segment, the camera work made it look like Vince McMahon was flashing his employees. I mean, the people he tells to come to a building to do the wrestling, and he tells them to bugger off for no good reason whatsoever. He looked like he was flashing them, and they were loving it. I mean, I guess they would. He is, of course, a genetic jackhammer. $100 million. No, Roman, this is not a prop. This is the actual Cleopatra's bastard golden egg. This isn't a prop. The Rock gave it to me. He had $7 in his pocket when he arrived in the WWF, and I made him a millionaire with a $100 million golden egg. Wrestling is sure crap. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Vince McMahon's got this $100 million golden egg, a 10-year contract with Saudi Arabia, multiple million contract deals with both Fox and the USA Network, all of the other money, and he releases people like they're used sheets of toilet paper. It makes you sick, doesn't it? Right then. Then Vince McMahon realizes that somebody has stolen his massive $100 million golden egg from its Perspex box. Oh no, the shock and horror. And Vince McMahon's first reaction upon learning his massive $100 million golden egg has gone missing is to shout, and I quote by looking at my script down here, "Somebody has stolen my egg." Wrestling, man. It was like a mother hen after laying an egg at a farmer's farm for the first time. They wouldn't know what's coming, would they? Yes, he's lost his egg, and almost certainly Vince McMahon has lost all of his bastard marbles as well. Then he shouts at Sonya and Adam, "Call the cops! Immediately you must call the cops!" And Sonya picks up her phone, doesn't even press any buttons, and goes, "Hello, police." Because, of course, that's what we all do when making phone calls, isn't it? That's how the phones work. You put it next to your head, it knows what you want to do, and it calls them immediately, doesn't it? She's a wizard. And then he's going through all the suspects who could have stolen his massive golden egg. Vince lists the production people, the people of Brooklyn. And Adam Pearce says back to him, "Well, Vince, it could be one of our superstars." So natural, his delivery there. Adam Pearce is a great performer. Let's not take anything away from Adam Pearce. But that line there was weird. "Hey, Vince, maybe it could be one of our many superstars." So natural. Vince's response to that? "Find my egg. Interview all of them. Interview all of them." 3 hours of Raw, 2 hours of SmackDown, 150 interviews. I cannot wait. So just in case I haven't made it clear what's happened here, The Rock has given Vince McMahon a present, and that present is a golden egg. It's worth $100 million. It's not a prop, by the way, from the movie that's on Netflix at the minute. It's a real golden egg. $100 million. Somebody has stolen that egg, and Vince McMahon has called the police, and Adam Pearce needs to interview people. Wrestling. What a complete helmet, eh? Oh my god, it's Karrion Kross, who is also a helmet. Look at his big helmet, and look at the helmet wearing that big helmet. What a cock. It's like Lord Tensai getting together with Axe and/or Smash of Demolition back in the 1980s. Those two of those three things, we should say, canoodling and then giving birth to Karrion Kross on the main roster with his sex dungarees. Yes, the child of Axe and/or Smash and Lord Tensai appears in the wrestling with some sex dungarees on. Because that's wrestling. But the sad thing was the offspring of Lord Tensai and Axe and/or Smash couldn't have his girlfriend because the powers that be thought that was a good idea, even though it bloody wasn't. The girlfriend, Scarlett of course, really added to the presentation. In fact, she completed the presentation. She took the presentation from sort of It's just Karrion Kross, isn't it? To, oh my god, it's the harbinger of doom. Kross looking like he does, Scarlett looking like she does, the music, the lights, the camera effects, the when they get inside the ring, it was different, it was something that worked, it was tried and tested, it was good stuff. But WWE, they took most of it away. Why would you do that, eh? "It wasn't my idea," said Vince McMahon probably, while he was also probably looking at Austin Theory's arse. The dirty old bastard. And then to top all of it off when it comes to the WTF moment that was Karrion Kross on the main roster in 2021, in his debut match, in front of the eyes of the world, Karrion Kross lost to Jeff Hardy. Now, in the grand scheme of things, this isn't so much of a WTF moment because, as we all know, Jeff Hardy is a living legend. But the Jeff Hardy we saw in the first half of 2021 was definitely not a living legend. Because you take yourself back to the months before that win for Jeff Hardy over the debuting Karrion Kross on Monday Night Raw, and Jeff Hardy was losing, I repeat, losing to Jackson Ryker on Raw. He was losing to Jinder Mahal on Main Event. And this is the one that takes the biscuit. You know Veer, who was walking from India to Monday Night Raw and has taken several months to do so because it's such a long way? Jeff Hardy lost to Veer on an episode of Main Event. This is where Jeff Hardy was before he took on Karrion Kross. So him beating Karrion Kross, it melts my brain. Jeff Hardy, of course, was in no man's land, a no man's land that was saved by no more words, because this, of course, was the first match back for that theme tune, which took Jeff Hardy's overall rating as a professional wrestler, you know, on the games and that, from like a 75, 76, 77, something like that, all the way up to a 90 bastard too. So the return of the theme saw Jeff Hardy from no man's land defeat the 15-month undefeated NXT champion who had just retained his title against against Johnny Gargano in a match where Samoa Joe, his other big rival, was the special guest referee. We cannot put into words just how weird and bollocks this was. From the new look to the debut result, it's got to be one of the worst debuts in Monday Night Raw history. I don't know what else to say there. It was absolutely awful. Let's take ourselves back to that happy land that was WrestleMania 37 Night 2, the night where all the bloody heels won. WWE putting smiles on people's faces, seeing dickheads win all the matches on the grandest stage of them all. And one match in particular has got to be a huge WTF moment, and that was The Fiend. Remember The Fiend? He lost to Randy Orton inside of 5 minutes and 54 seconds, and to get this right, this is what takes the biscuit. He lost to one RKO. Who the hell loses to one RKO these days? Put in a box, set on fire, murdered just in time for Christmas for several months before coming back to life, but that's besides the point. The Fiend family didn't have their father there for Christmas because he was cooked, set on fire, burned alive by Randy Orton. All of that resulted in a one RKO win for Randy Orton, and that is as arse backwards as professional wrestling gets. And that's what it is. It's the manner of that defeat that really has you saying, yowie wowie, what the hell are you doing, Vince, you old crackpot? That result, one RKO, is arguably more far-fetched than watching Kentucky Fried Fiend transform himself just by walking forwards. Off he went, and then and back to normal Fiend. That result is more far-fetched than watching that happen. And while we're here speaking about that, Kentucky Fried Fiend transforming himself back into normal Fiend, that's realistic for WWE. But is this sign backstage at WrestleMania 37 displays a slap on the thigh while kicking someone? That's too far. Don't you dare do that. That's too far. And while we're speaking about this matchup, let's try and forget about professional wrestling-like commentator, a man called Michael Cole, commentating on the professional wrestling at a WrestleMania-like event like WrestleMania 37, calling that box there, a box-like structure about 1,000,000 times. It's a box, Michael. It's Alexa Bliss's box. Let's take a lovely trip back. Let's hold hands and take a trip down memory lane as we hear about The Fiend versus Randy Orton at WrestleMania 37. I want to push my fingers into my eyes. So then, after murder by fire, Randy getting shot in the face once again with fire, after the essence of his spooky murder clown lived inside two WWE superstars on Monday Night Raw, manifesting himself with black goo whenever he bloody wanted, the mortal beings they had no control whatsoever. Randy Orton versus The Fiend was the curtain jerker at a WrestleMania show, but more baffling than that, it was a straight up wrestling match. Of course, after a murder, remember, the most logical way, the most logical way, I'm sticking with it, the most logical way to settle things is in a bog standard, normal professional wrestling match where the combatants, they must abide by the rules and have a fight straight down the middle in the name of sportsmanship. And then the way the match ended, that was just weird as well. Not only was it so sudden and so quick after 6 long months, it's felt like, of build between Randy Orton and The Fiend to get to WrestleMania, 6 months equates to a 6-minute match. That can't be right. And then there I was thinking, I've worked out this entire Fiend bollocks me. I thought that when the black goo was coming out of Randy Orton and Alexa Bliss, just like it did last night at WrestleMania 37, why I keep saying WrestleMania 37, I've got no idea. You all know it was that show, don't you? I thought that black stuff was the Fiend manifesting himself because the Fiend was sort of living within Randy and Alexa Bliss while he was beyond the grave, because remember, he got murdered. But the Fiend was in the ring while that was happening on Alexa Bliss's face. So that can't be right then. What the hell's going on? If you know, let me know down there. And then we have to cover the issue of the fact that the Fiend, the spooky murder clown who can't be killed by fire, the spooky murder clown who can't be killed by 75 million Seth Rollins chair shots, curb stomps, all the bollocks, he was defeated by one RKO. One. Who the hell loses to one RKO these days? There must be a reason for this happening, no doubt about it. We'll get some spooky bollocks tonight on Monday Night Raw, because we can't get enough of the spooky bollocks on Monday Night Raw. But still, this match just left a horrible taste in your mouth, didn't it? From top to bottom, it was just weird, it was just unsatisfactory, it was just wrong. What the hell have they done to NXT, right? They had this thing called NXT, which lost a make-believe war to another thing, but now NXT 2.0 is losing a a war with itself. And let me explain why. And that's because in amongst the crappy Nickelodeon sign that sort of screams, "Hey kids, let's paint by numbers while watching NXT 2.0, how much fun!" And in amongst the sea of really weird gimmicks, NXT 2.0 at its core is still NXT Black and Gold. You got Carmelo Hayes, you got Pete Dunne, you got Kyle O'Reilly, you got Johnny Wrestling, Tommaso Ciampa, Bron Breakker, still at these really crucial points on the card, putting on very NXT Black and Gold matchups in the sea of whatever NXT 2.0 is trying to be. But the gimmicks, let's speak about the gimmicks now, because as we all know in AEW, I'm sorry to do this, but in AEW we've got the 4 pillars that are holding up the company, the foundations of the company. I'm going to take that 4 pillars of AEW, move it over to NXT 2.0 and tell you about the 4 pillars of NXT 2.0. Joe Gacy, who could be a really cool thing where he's all caring and understanding and then rips people's heads off but then acts really caring and understanding while his opponents are dead inside the ring. But instead, he's just a really rubbish commentary on how some old leather-skinned boomer sees the younger, more woker generations of today. Put him in the bin. Von Wagner, Mr. Come Tuesday, a weirdo who takes his friend into the woods to lift logs and drink beer because they're absolutely mental. Who the hell does that, man? Somebody check his hard drive. My toenail is more interesting than Von Wagner. He's a mighty fine wrestler, let's not take that away from him. And obviously, he's very big and he's very Nordic looking, so that's interesting. But the man looks like he's in physical pain when he's speaking, and that cannot be good for a professional wrestler. Remember where we've been and now where we are at with Von Wagner. That was a fart noise. Now we have pillar number 3, and that is a man we like to call Dull Hudson. Do you want a professional wrestler who cuts promos like he's explaining the terms of a loan? Well, Duke Hudson, he's your man. NXT clearly gave this man the gimmick of a poker player because 100% of the time he has a poker face. He can't emote. He has one expression, and that expression is bus stop. He's always got that waiting at the bus stop face on. Pillar number 4 is Ikeman Jiro, who through no fault of his own gave us the biggest WTF moment of NXT 2.0 so far. So I'm sitting down to watch NXT War Games and he comes on. He's ordering some food, that's fair. We all get some food while watching the professional wrestling. But then he gets what he calls a big appetite and proceeds to try and eat 3 gallons of ice cream, 2 footlongs, 1 gallon of Super Slurpee and 2 Super Slices. Whatever the bloody hell a Super Slice is. Oh my god, it looks lovely. And then the mad bastard goes in for round 2 and that never ever ends well. And the segment ends with Ikeman Jiro having a massive stinky poo that with the camera shot used makes it look like he's being tugged off in the toilets. It looks like Kushida is below that camera tugging his winky. I'm sorry for saying it. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, but that's what it looks like. And the worst thing about all of this pillock is what I've just said to you there was not followed up on at all. He ate a lot, he crapped a lot, he spunked a lot presumably, and that was it. The next week's NXT, he was smacking people on the arse and being a crazy Japanese man in a jacket. And that's NXT 2.0 basically. Why? This year we learned why Finn Balor is called Finn Balor. You see, Finn Balor clearly has fins, and fins also belong on a fish. So speaking of fish, taking away SpongeBob SquarePants, who lives in the sea where some fish live. If nautical nonsense is something you wish, SpongeBob SquarePants, then drop on the deck and flop like a fish. I cannot believe my eyes, dear viewer. The demon Finn Balor is a massive SpongeBob SquarePants fan. So just in case you haven't seen last night's pay-per-view, let's unpack this moment right now. We have the demon Finn Balor, who's a demon. He's speared through the barricade by the tribal chief, who is a tribal chief called Roman Reigns. Finn Balor, the demon, then dies. He's dead. On the floor, just like that. And then we see his heartbeat somehow appear through the speakers inside the arena. The lights inside the arena, they go red because we cannot get rid of those crappy red lights ever. And then we hear the heartbeat, and when we hear the heartbeat and see the red lights, Finn Balor, he flops like a fish. He flopped like an actual fish. Somehow, somewhere, the demon Finn Balor was sort of defibrillated back to life without the use of a defibrillator. And he rose up from the depths of death. He was resurrected. It was all gripping, compelling stuff. It was fantastic. But the resurrection of the demon, it would appear that Jesus would walk with the demon. Maybe Jesus is the demon. But then Jesus left the Demon and God returned to WWE for the first time since 2006. Because at the end of the match, when it was all said and done, we saw Roman Reigns, the tribal chief, look into the heavens above, saying something presumably like the Spice Girls. Thank you. Thank you very much. I need somebody with a human touch. Jay and Jimmy Uso, they will do. Oh, what a mental image that is. The Usos lathering up some soap, rubbing the tribal chief. But this has got to be one of my favourite moments in the history of WWE, just for its execution more than anything else. Finn Balor rises from the dead as his music plays after he took a devastating spear through the barricade. Special effects and lighting, there's lots of it. He's laying a beating on Roman Reigns. In time, I repeat, in time, with his music. He's setting up his finisher in the most epic way. The lights are flashing, the mood in the arena, it's palpable. It looks like the Demon is going to topple the tribal chief, handing Roman Reigns his first defeat in over 400 days. Was it over 400 days? Nearly 400 days. What's the difference? It's a bloody long time. And then the turnbuckle falls away from under his feet, the lights go back to normal and he loses immediately. Life carries on like nothing happened. It's just fantastic. We're getting this big moment. The Demon has came back from the dead. The lights are flashing. Everyone's going radio rental. The boyhood dream for the Demon. It could be coming true, but no. He falls down, he hurts his leg and he loses in double quick fashion. That's WWE. Good on paper, crap in execution. But let me tell you, dear viewer, for all those people asking, why the hell did that turnbuckle break under that huge fat bastard known as Finn Balor? Look at how fat he is. Look at how fat he is. He's bloody massive. Look at him. How did the turnbuckle break under that massive 190-pound weight? Well, let me tell you, go back and watch the United States Triple Threat match, because Sheamus did some filth on that specific top turnbuckle, and no wonder it came loose. He was air humping like Jeff Hardy. I mean, even though that should be the reason WWE go with for the turnbuckle falling away under the massive fat bastard weight of the Demon Finn Balor, they won't do that, will they? And that's a shame. Hopefully we'll get explained that Paul Heyman, the Usos, somebody, maybe a higher power, a new character getting introduced, higher power for Roman Reigns. That sounds spicy. Maybe it could be explained that they unhooked the turnbuckle and Finn Balor bouncing up and down on the turnbuckle, that's what saw it fall away. Who knows what might happen? Anything could happen in the World Wrestling Federation. But I guess it's a kind of way of having the unbeatable Demon character look strong in defeat. But that raises the question, if you want the unbeatable Demon character, who has been beaten, but that was many years ago, so everyone's forgotten about that obviously, if you want him to remain looking strong, why book him in a match against Roman Reigns here in 2021 in the first place, WWE? You didn't have to book that match. If you want to keep the Demon looking good, have the Demon beat big baldy bastard Baron Corbin. Corbin loses all the time. I don't know what I'm saying now. Oh, I've lost it. But it just makes you wonder, why book the Demon against Reigns in the first place? WTF moment. Now we have Samoa Joe's 2-0 up against the Demon. Samoa Joe and then Joseph Anuahi. Back to SummerSlam we go, and while I had a fantastic time learning what the term bussy meant, we all love a bussy, don't we? We didn't know that a heel Becky Lynch was about to come back and SummerSlam our hearts. Manhandle slam our hearts. Kick our hearts right in the dick. Back to this bollocks we go to now. They promoted it, right? All the way up until the start of the match itself. WWE are absolutely putrid. I repeat, putrid at times, aren't they? Just in case you haven't seen SummerSlam 2021, right? Sasha Banks versus Bianca Belair. The dirty sheets are reported all week long. It might be happening, it might not be happening. Then the last couple of days, it's definitely off. Sasha Banks is not undercard. The way that was done, man, it just beggars belief. Sasha was due to make her entrance, even though the entirety of WWE and every single wrestling fan who has access to the internet knew she wasn't going to be there. It was just so wrong. Bianca's in the ring. Sasha's due to come down. Greg Hamilton goes, Sasha's not here. Anyway, here's Carmella. What are you doing, man? What's that about? Hello, small child on Christmas Eve. I have lots of presents for you tomorrow. Oh, it's Christmas morning, and I'm sorry to tell you, small child, that Santa Claus, he hasn't come this year, and you're getting nothing. That's what I was thinking initially. Card subject to change my arse when you know that card is not the card you've promoted all week long. WWE, you lying, unethical bastards. And then we have the way it was done from there on out. We have Carmella wheeled out to replace Sasha Banks, giving us Bianca Belair versus Carmella in singles matches on television for the 5th time since WrestleMania 37, for goodness sake. It just completely deflated the crowd. They went down like a bouncy castle with all the air being let out of it, but then whoa, hey, Becky Lynch is here. That was good. WWE sat there in the corner going, oh my God, we've lied to you all week, but don't worry, here's Becky Lynch, be happy. And we were, I guess, yeah. But it is tinged with a little sprinkle of complete and utter bollocks now, isn't it, WWE? You know you've done wrong. But also well, but also wrong. You've done the best you could with the hand you were dealt, I guess. Yeah, this is conflicted, isn't it? Now let me tell you, everybody, I like some Becky Lynch just as much as any other professional wrestling fan. She's absolutely fantastic. Her presence has been missed over the last year and a bit. Seeing her back was absolutely fantastic. But let's take a look at what WWE, which, by the way, they book the shows, they decide what happens. We all know this, don't we? They didn't have to do this. Let's take a look at what they did, shall we? They teased us with the proverbial dream match, the star of today, Bianca Belair, the returning star of today, the biggest star potentially in professional wrestling over the past couple of years, the man, Becky Lynch. She's huge. This is a never-seen-before dream match. They teased us, and then the best part of all of this unethical, nonsensical, overcomplicated, overbooked bollocks, they have Becky Lynch deliver 2 moves, one of which being a rock bottom, which is called the manhandle slam. That's a crap name as well, by the way. They have that happen, and Bianca Belair, a star on the rise, a star who put everything behind over the past 6 months, however long it's been since WrestleMania 37, she loses to Becky Lynch in about 20 seconds to 2 moves. All that investment, 2 moves, gone. You've literally done her dirty, WWE. Why did this have to happen? You booked the shows. You could have had anything else happen to get Becky Lynch's return as a part of SummerSlam 2021. And in the process, not derail one of the biggest up-and-coming stars in the entire world of professional wrestling. The bollocks you've put Bianca Belair through over the past little while. The endless rematches, the crappy opponents, and she's still getting cheered. She's a magician, and you've done that to her. You're despicable. I guess when it comes to Bianca Belair, what's happened just after SummerSlam into Survivor Series, what happened at Survivor Series, and then coming out of Survivor Series, toppling the mighty Piper Niven. I guess she is kind of back on track, which in turn gives me another WTF moment. They're coming out my ears. I was about to say orifices and then realised I can't say it, so ears, they're coming out my ears. And of course, I've got to reserve a huge WTF moment for all of the releases that happened here in 2021. WTF moments just about one and all. Where the hell do you even start with this one? Is it the sudden nature of Jeff Hardy's release? Is it B-Fab signing a new contract 1 week before getting released? Or let's talk about Hit Row. Now in kayfabe, the law of WWE states that a diss track done to them by Jinder Mahal and the real Slim Shanky was so severe, even though it really wasn't, Hit Row could not bring themselves to come back to SmackDown. They were served that hard. But releasing people in the midst of a storyline didn't stop there, though. For weeks we saw Aleister Black have these wonderful promo packages building this Dark Father character. He came back to SmackDown to confront Big E for 1 week and 1 week only, and then he was gone. Bronson Reed told me on Straight to Hell this year that he signed a new contract with WWE this year, and he was told he was going to the main roster before he was given the boot. Samoa Joe was released and then brought back, but why the hell would you release him, of all people, in the first place? The Iconics, especially Billie Kay here in 2021, were doing great things despite being given very little to wrap their chops around on the main roster, but they continue to provide us with stuff. That's all we could ask for, was some stuff. Keith Lee, how the hell could you forget about Keith, man, WWE? Not only watching the great things he did as part of NXT, but what he did with Roman Reigns at Survivor Series, you know the Survivor Series I'm talking about, and Brock Lesnar in the Rumble. How could you not do anything with him apart from give him a good nickname and a netball skirt? Oh. Bray Wyatt is a creative genius who created this genius thing and saw it demolished by awful creative. And apparently sources from within WWE said he was difficult to work with. I wonder why. I like to think when I see bollocks like that in the dirty sheets, it's the superstar in question having pride in their work and not accepting the bollocks given to them. Difficult to work with, my arse. And then we have Braun Strowman. Yes, he was let go this year as well, and he is literally Vince McMahon's wet dream of what a professional wrestler should look like. In fact, I reckon Vince was in bed one night, right? His winky was as erect as a pen, right? And the jizz is the ink. And I reckon he drew Braun Strowman with his pen penis and the jizzy ink. This is fantastic content. Merry Christmas. Now, obviously, I can't go through all of the WWE releases that happened in 2021. Otherwise, I would be stood here for several hours. But Nick Khan, WWE, if you're going to do one thing in 2022, stop saying you've got record profits every single quarter. Oh, we're making more than we expected. What do we like, eh? And then citing budget cuts when you release people from their contracts. Contracts that you didn't have to give them, by the way. You signed all these bloody wrestlers and you're releasing them because you've been silly and you've realised you made a big mistake. So stop saying record profits, $40 million profit in certain quarters and whatnot, and then releasing people for budget cuts. What's the money being spent on? And I guess as a secondary one, Nick Khan, go and speak to Vince McMahon, Bruce Pritchard, anyone on the creative teams when you're releasing someone, just to make sure they're not in the midst of a storyline and that storyline doesn't get finished, because as a viewer, it really pisses you off more so than the release does anyway. Now, believe it or not, WrestleMania Backlash this year was a good show. It was a variety show. The card had something on it for every single kind of professional wrestling fan watching. It's unfortunate that also on that same card that had something for everybody, had something for people who like the shizer porn, who like watching big piles of poo. Because you see, WrestleMania Backlash this year was sponsored by Army of the Dead, and that's a thing Batista's involved in. And because Batista used to do the wrestling and now he's doing that thing happened and WWE made more money. Yes, my number one WWE WTF moment of 2021 surrounds those bastard zombies at WrestleMania Backlash, who, by the way, ate The Miz alive, but The Miz lived to tell the tale. And also you see NXT superstar Come Tuesday, Von Wagner himself, being the head zombie. What's it like, eh? He goes from security guard to zombie to security guard to wrestler to Adam Pearce's security guard to wrestler. What a year for Come Tuesday. He's the WTF that keeps on WTFing. And you can tell this is an absolute whopper of a WTF moment because, as you're about to see on the WrestleMania Backlash WTF Moments video, I try to get all philosophical with you, and to be quite blunt with you, dear viewer, I'm nowhere near clever enough to look deep into professional wrestling and try to be philosophical about stuff. Yeah. And this is where the night took a complete nosedive. Fresh from watching all 3 hours of Monday Night Raw, seriously, that's what it does to you. Look at the state of me. This is because of Monday Night Raw. We see the Lumberjacks for Damian Priest versus The Miz, otherwise known as, by the way, the superstars who don't get used by WWE each and every week on television. You're wondering what they're doing? There they are. But those former WWE superstars who are now zombies, remember, are zombies. Zombies who can tear open human flesh, rip off a head, eat a brain, but they can't work a bastard door. So thankfully Johnny Drip Drip was there to open the door for the really, really thick zombies, and oh my god, look, it's Buddy Murphy. Hello, Buddy Murphy. More on the zombies in a bit. Adnan. So we see some more zombies, okay, walking through the backstage area like nice zombies do. We cut back to Adnan, and Adnan says the following. Maybe this makes a little more sense because WrestleMania Backlash is sponsored by some film. And just so we are clear, everybody, the zombies in the wrestling, we all know they are completely real. Look at Miz, look at Morrison, look at the commentators, all running away from the really real zombies and not actors from a film. Why would Adnan say about the film and then run away from the zombies? Adnan's a fool. And of course, I stand here in front of you right now conflicted, because after seeing some silly bollocks in the wrestling and knowing how I love silly bollocks in my professional wrestling, Undertaker, Kane, they were things for bedtime fam in the professional wrestling. I'm just conflicted because that was naff, wasn't it? It was on the wrong side of naff and silly. It was naff. And by the way, the people justifying that bollocks from last night's show by saying, well, think of the money WWE made. Well, let me tell you, everybody, look at the record profits WWE were making in the midst, by the way, of a global pandemic and before zombies zombies were even a thing. Well, those kind of zombies, Undertaker, the ECW zombie, other zombies, they have had zombies, but not those zombies right there. They're fine. They don't need more money. But I was sitting there trying to be a wrestling journalist or something like that, and I got to thinking, what is the definition of kayfabe? And here it is, straight off Google, which means it's got to be true. Kayfabe is defined as the fact or convention of presenting stage performances as genuine or authentic. And I was thinking, yeah, that is the definition of kayfabe, because that's how I choose to present this very series. I treat the storylines and the actions of the professional wrestlers we see on the television there as real. Because of course, in storyline, they should make sense as if they were real, just like any television show, just like any movie. But then you see stuff like that, former WWE champion The Miz running away from a zombie because, you know, he presumably thinks that zombies are real. We need to start treating WWE like we did Lucha Underground. And that's because stuff like that there, it makes series like this completely and utterly redundant. Because now more than ever in the history of professional wrestling is its own thing. It's got its own rules. It lives within its own world. Anything goes, man. To scoff at the fact that former WWE champion The Miz presumably thinks that zombies are real and therefore sees fit to run away from zombies before getting killed by the same zombies, it's silly. It's silly to have a go at that thing actually being a thing when that thing exists in a world that is different to ours. Take me back to the days when people like The Rock, first name The, second name Rock, and Stone Cold Steve Austin, first name Stone, surname Austin, when they were real human beings and what they did mirrored exactly what we would do in real life because, you know, wrestling was real and all that stuff, wasn't it? Yeah. But let me know what you think down below. Should we treat WWE like it's Lucha Underground and everything that happens on WWE TV happens in an alternative universe kind of ting? But of course, while we're here speaking about the Lumberjacks, credit where credit is due, because the Lumberjacks, the brain-dead zombie Lumberjacks, somehow knew the rules to a Lumberjack match in WWE and adhered to those rules wonderfully, perfectly. How did they know? What a load of crap. I think Johnny Drip Drip is about to go bye-bye, said one of the commentators nonchalantly, as one of their co-workers was eaten by some zombies and therefore murdered and therefore killed and therefore will never ever ever be heard from again as Johnny Drip Drip. And then we saw Damian Priest doing his Archer pose thing as his co-worker called The Miz and rival, so I guess it's acceptable. He hates his guts and now those guts, they live inside of a zombie who ate those guts. It all makes sense, I tell thee. But anyway, Damian Priest was doing his thingy while The Miz was also being murdered. And I know we live in a world where Randy Orton burned a man alive and therefore came out as the noble baby face or something like that. I can't remember. That was bare time ago, fam. But still, Damian Priest, Raw commentary team, have a heart, will ye? People died last night, man. But to that point there, Ross Twiddell, once again, I'm speaking like I'm on a WWE kickoff show. Have you noticed? If The Miz and John Morrison do not turn up to tonight's Monday Night Raw as actual living zombie men, then that documentary that I love with all my heart called Shaun of the Dead will be proven to be a lie. Because as we all know, if you get bitten anywhere by a zombie, you then turn into a zombie. Don't be fake, WWE. I guess this is what we get for being horrible to Batista all the way back in 2014. Batista, you blue prick. So that was it for the 10 biggest WWE WTF moments from 2021. But don't worry, if you like make-believe wars, an AEW version will be coming to the channel soon as well. So good luck. But of course, it goes without saying, thank you all so much for another fantastic year of support. We'd be lost without you. Please don't leave us. Happy Christmas, Merry New Year, whatever you're celebrating this festive season. I'm about to go and drown myself in a bath of Baileys. All the best.